I was wondering what it would make in this, or what would it take in this type of situation as we are right now, considering the pandemic, for the organizers of events like this to really make it happen, right? To push through and to adapt and change, right? And I can only imagine what it means. And I was thinking actually to the last moment, will it even happen? Will it take place? So I'm happy that we learn to adapt to this new situation and change and make sure that our social distancing does not become too distant and that we are able to actually still share knowledge, meet people we want to share experiences with. And I think this event is exactly about that. And I also today wanted to talk about change and what I have learned in my professional career during the years, both changing my career path myself, as well as managing different change initiatives. And also, last 3 years, I've been part of biggest transformation project in Baltics, which is Luminor. Many of you might know or remember that Luminor was formed 3 years ago as a result of merging two competitors in Baltics, Nordea and DNB. And what that meant for us, that we had to put together 6 different banks across 3 different countries. So imagine merging 6 different sets of IT systems, right? So not just IT systems, but sets of IT systems, merging 6 different sets of products and 6 different sets of processes, not even talking about 6 different sets of culture. What a ride this has been, right? Quite a ride. But today I will be sharing more about my own personal experiences and what I have learned on my path of change. And the first one I want to tell you is always follow your interests, right? And here we're talking about technology. I myself started out as a financial analyst back in days, and initially it was further interesting to learn how to put together cash flow, how to do the net present value calculations, how to determine what is the worth of a project or a company or an investment. And after a while, I had learned how to do it for different type of industries, for different stages of projects and companies. It became boring for me. So I realized that it is actually the customer strategy, how to compete in the market, how to win over customers, that was actually exciting for me and interesting. So I decided to change. Initially, I started to get myself engaged more in customer management related projects in a company I was working for. Then I did additional education in the area, and then finally also changed jobs. And once I understood that I had a problem, my work was boring, so I thought, okay, I need to change, I need to look for new opportunities. I remember I was sending out numerous CVs to different positions in marketing, sales, and customer service areas, and most of those companies never even replied, like not even a simple no, right? So I thought, bummer, this doesn't work. So what to do now? So I started to reach out for people who might know some other people, who might work in some companies that might be interesting, and maybe they need someone, and so on. And I kept reaching out, and after a while I ended up for an interview in a food processing company here in Latvia. And I remember when I was going to the second interview with the hiring manager at the time, he was literally asking me, why do you want to work for us? Won't you be disappointed? Because for him, I was someone from posh school, working in this prestigious Big Four consulting company, in nice premises, and now I suddenly want to come and work for a simple food processing company, right? He was taking me around to an excursion around the premises. He was literally showing me, like, the staircase. Look, it's pretty ugly, right? Look at the furniture, it's old, right? It's inconvenient. There is no air conditioning. Are you sure? And I remember then I was thinking, okay, if he would have known that, I never got response from most of the companies I applied for, he probably would have known why. So it went well. I switched jobs, and I started to work for that company. And what is important to mention here, I didn't only go back in prestige or nice premises, I did also step back in my salary. However, just 6 months later, I got promoted to lead the marketing and product development department for that company, and with a respective salary increase. And I was doing the job I loved. Right? So yes, be ready to adapt and to change and step back also if needed. The second lesson, it's about diversity. So from one point of view, it might seem that taking this step aside or to the sideways and changing the field of expertise or industries, as I have done over the years, might hold me back for a while, right? But what I actually discovered that over the course of my career, having this diverse background has helped me quite a lot in numerous times. So for example, in the same food processing company where I was a marketing manager, having the financial analysis background really helped me to prove the investments that we needed to do in marketing and in product development. I could talk the same language with the CFO or CEO for that sake. And now in Luminor, having the background in technology industry really helps me to contribute to our digital journey. So yes, so the diverse background does help. And did I plan for this ahead? Did I know it? Of course not. Of course not. But having this diversity has numerous times opened me the doors on my path. So I definitely don't regret it, and I would recommend everyone else to try the same. And I quite often get a question, so how did you build your career, right? And I don't even know how to answer to that, because I've never thought of it that way. What I've always done is followed my interest, then I have adapted or stepped back if needed, and then I have tried to learn at every step that I took. So to sum up, in a sense, I try, or rather say do, then I learn, and then I repeat, right? However, after a while of doing, learning, and repeating in the same environment, your learning starts to slow down, right? Because you stop seeing certain things. We get used to the way things are done, to certain views and truths of the world, and or to certain behaviors, right? I had a friend who used to tell me back when I just moved from Estonia to Latvia that, Kerli, you are an Estonian. You see things in Latvian culture and in Latvians that we Latvians don't see ourselves, because we're just so used to it, right? Back then, I didn't understand what she meant, really. I mean, I couldn't relate to that, because I just, I had this view. I had both Estonian and this Latvian experience, and I was having that. I kind of got the grasp of what she was meaning when I moved to study to Sweden, since the culture in Sweden is a bit more different than Baltics, right? And then I understood. People are like fish who don't know that they are wet. When I first moved to Luminor, everything was different. And I'm not just saying like industry-specific things. I moved from technology and telecommunications industry to banking. But also simple things, like how do you do budgeting process, or how do you organize your office space, or using Word memos instead of PowerPoint presentations, for example. And in the beginning, it was quite frustrating, I must say. I mean, we, back in the company I used to work for, we did it so good, right? We had tried it out, we had made it perfect, we had fine-tuned, we had learned. It worked so well, it was so efficient. I was like asking, why don't they understand it? What's wrong with them? And, my favorite question, or sentence, not the question. In banking, it doesn't work that way. No. In that industry, maybe, but not in banking. That reminded me of old days of working for a management consultancy when you quite often what you do is that you take the best practices of different industries or companies in the industry, and then you try to replicate or learn from those practices and teach that to the clients or implement it to the clients. And quite often what you would hear from people and from clients would be, you know, that works for that company, and that works for that industry, or that works for that country, but no, not for us, no. We are special, right? We have those specific things, why for us this will not work, right? And of course, there are always specific things to a certain industry, be it banking or anything else, or a certain company, but that doesn't mean that you cannot or should not actually question many things and many processes or the way things are done. So again, fish don't know they are wet, right? They think they're special, or this is the way it is. And then I let go. So as I said before, I was frustrated initially, but then I let go. And yes, there were still things that were, to my mind, inefficient or that should change. But I also started to see things that were as efficient or as good, just different, or that actually more efficient. And what is the conclusion? Again, fish don't know they're wet, only this time the fish was me, right? So yes, things can be done in many ways, and you never know. Is it better? Is it worse? Or is it the same? But it pays off to actually open up and let go of some certain old habits. Leadership style, yes. So leadership skills, what I have learned that leadership skills are not permanent. Something that might have worked for you in the past will not work tomorrow or today even, because it's all based on context. And I've always thought that leadership is important, to connect to people, to grow and motivate your team. And over the years of working as a manager, I had developed and tried and tested out different tools and tricks for myself to work with people and to grow them. And I had also developed different sets for different people, right? So it was not all the same for everyone. I was adjusting. However, then I changed jobs, right? And suddenly I had a totally different set of people. Demographically, they were all the same. I mean, they were managers with significant experience in management, so they were all senior managers. I was still leading senior managers. They were all 30 plus years with higher education, but still completely different, with different tasks, absolutely different dynamics. And I tried my good set of tools and techniques on them as well, and different ones, and adjusting, and I discovered that it doesn't work. Just simply doesn't work. So I kind of thought, okay, let's step back, unlearn, and then relearn and try once again. So yes, it's not permanent. Something that works for you today might not work for tomorrow. And similarly with people performance. It can change very much as well, based on the context and based on, it can vary significantly over time. And what was surprising for me may be how short this time frame can be. We're not talking about a year or two, we're talking about a few months. Someone who was a star performer can suddenly become a poor performer just within a few months, because something changed. Either in the organization, either outside of the organization, in the personal life, or just because the tasks changed, or the team changed around. So we often tag people with different categories. We say underperformers and low high performers, and we think that this is something that will stick with those people, or that will be given for a certain time period. But it is important to remember that it's actually a very, very short-term phenomenon. Nothing is given. Nothing is permanent. Yeah, communication. My favorite lesson learned. It's very simple, right? Everyone knows it. It's important. Communicate. And somehow still, almost everyone almost always underestimates how important it is. We think that everyone has already heard the message, that everyone has already understood the message, and everyone has already bought into the message, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's such a great idea, why not, right? I mean, I have so great idea. I mean, of course everyone will buy into this idea. And somehow in reality, it is quite often different. I once lost 2 years, 2 years, when I tried to implement and change what I thought was very important for the organization I was working for at the time. And the reason why I lost those 2 years, because I underestimated communication. I was overly optimistic about people buying into the idea, that I had enough support. If I would have invested just 1 month, I believe I could have saved those 2 years, right? So consider the investment, 1 month and return 2 years. So that's why this is my favorite insight. Communication is key for success. So, yes, be empathetic. This is something what I have learned most, I would say, in Luminor experience. And the reason for that is that, especially in the beginning, Luminor culture was very much put together from 3 different subcultures. So there were the newcomers, such as myself, and then there were ex-DNB people and then ex-Nordea people. And what we newcomers then quite often discovered or realized that quite many things were so much easier for us to accept, and we were not kind of, I don't know, angry or upset about it, because we do not have this experience of good old Nordea times or good old DNB times, right? And we attach to things we like, right? I think every one of us has a story or remembers a favorite toy back in childhood that got broken or got lost, or favorite piece of clothing that that you grew out of, or a bike that was too small for you. I used to have a dress that I loved when I was small, and I remember I was trying to keep putting it on as I was growing older, and the dress just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But it was so sad to give it up, you know. It was so dear for me. So it's very understandable. We're all emotional beings, right? And change triggers many emotions. So to a large extent, managing change is very much about understanding those emotions that people have and relating to those. And yes, finally, nothing is permanent. I mean, seriously, nothing is permanent. So if you think, second right now is already second in past, right? And a second in the future is already second in now, and now it's already second in past. Everything changes. People change, situations change, times change, and if we attach to things, to certain ways of doing, even if we really love those things or we love those ways of doing, the only thing we're going to end up with is friction. Right? So in a sense, the way to look at change or change management is also to consider it that it's actually just actively living in a current moment and embracing it and making the best use of this moment. So as a final remark, what I would call out all the listeners here to do is to really pay attention and observe each and every moment and think, what is the thing or what is the best thing I can do right now in this moment? Thank you.